The World Economic Forum is a rich group of elitists across the globe who have secret meetings together with a mission to, quote, engage business, political, academic, and other leaders of society to shape global, regional, and industry agendas, end quote. The World Economic Forum was founded in 1971 by Professor Klaus Schwab, and its members include Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, the president of China, Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, and around 1,000 other members who are mostly billionaires. It really begs the question, what on earth is their agenda? Much of what is said in their meetings is behind closed doors, but the only real way to know is to become a member. And that's the reason I decided to apply for membership. The cost to become a member is £500,000 per year. My plan was to listen, learn, and then decide from my own findings, what is the real agenda from the world's wealthiest people? I'll then be in a position to share with the rest of the world what was really going on in the world and use it to help my mission of preparing people to become rich themselves. So I applied, and the World Economic Forum gave me an application form to complete. The very first question was, what's the size of your organization? The very bottom of the pecking order, the lowest option to choose from was less than £99 million. I'd never felt so broke. I was at the bottom of the food chain. It goes to show the caliber of companies, considering anything less than 99 million is the lowest of the food chain. I completed the application form in a professional and neutral manner, agreeing to pay the £500,000 enrollment fee. It was interesting that they refused to take my money and did not accept my membership application. I never got an explanation, therefore I can only conclude that not only do you have to be extremely wealthy to be a member, but you also have to be in the clique, sharing their beliefs and following their code. The World Economic Forum released an advert in 2016 outlining their agenda and preparing the everyday person for a shift in expectations, where the world would be in 2030 and beyond. The advert was called 8 Predictions for the World in 2030. The advert made me feel sick to my stomach, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. The first prediction was, you will own nothing and be happy about it. A young, weak-looking man who was smiling but had a sad look in his eyes. This was literally produced and broadcast by the World Economic Forum. Other points included a world where we don't eat meat, we produce organs in labs, we're forced to move house because of climate change, and we will lose our Western values. It was like an expose on the World Economic Forum where they published it themselves. And this led to many members of the public being outraged but unable to do anything about it. Those that spoke up were either branded a conspiracy theorist or were deplatformed and shadow banned on social media. I made a YouTube video about this advert and it gained over 800,000 organic views within a few days, but then suddenly, boom, was shadow banned and lost all traction. Why was it shadow banned? Who shadow banned it? What community guideline did it break? Many celebrities endorse the agenda created by the World Economic Forum. They're either paid to do so or live in fear of being cancelled. Many celebrities are reliant on sponsorships, social media ad revenue, brand deals, and paid promotions. I don't care about any of these things because that's not my business model. I'm not an influencer with a business. I'm a businessman with influence. I'd go as far as to say that if many celebrities en masse are all supporting an idea, it's probably a bad idea. Many of these celebrities are wonderful people. Many of them are my friends, and I know what they truly believe because they talk to me behind closed doors. The message they share publicly is often very contrary to the one that they share privately. I don't even blame them. Who wants their bank closed down or to be shadow banned on social media or lose all their sponsorships? In 2024, there were thousands of people complaining that they had been debanked with no reason given at all. The problem with this is that there's not only a small number of banks to choose from, but they're often owned by the same people. NatWest Bank is part of 7 large other banks, including Coutts Bank. Nigel Farage, leader of Reform Party, was famously or infamously debanked from Coutts Bank. Do you think he could have just gone with NatWest? Of course not. They're owned by the same people. I spoke with Nigel Farage personally over a lunch about this, and he was thinking he might be forced out of the country because every single bank was refusing to open him an account because they just didn't like him. Now, you might think, that's funny because you don't like Nigel Farage. And whilst I don't agree with many of his views on immigration and the like, he's not alone. 140,000 small businesses were debanked in the UK last year. Without a bank account, you can't make or receive payments. You can't run a business. Nobody should be debanked without a serious reason, and the bank shouldn't have a monopoly with so much power. When the billionaires tell us, you will own nothing and be happy, what they're really saying is, we will own everything and be even happier. And their defense to that ridiculous, spooky statement was that ownership will become a thing of the past and leasing will become more preferred. For example, DVDs and CDs and things like that are going to become extinct. We won't need to own DVDs because now we have Netflix and we just lease an account subscription. In the same way, it's becoming harder and harder to get on the property ladder, and renting is becoming the more normal option for today's generation. Own nothing, lease everything, and be happy. But there's a huge problem with that, because you can now be cut off at any minute from everything, similarly to how Netflix decided it would no longer supply Netflix to Russians. Another flaw in this logic of owning nothing is that in order for the world to function, somebody must own it. So who will that be? The rich people, of course. They'll own the houses. They'll own the subscription models, the farms, the food, the land, the business. Meanwhile, you and I will lease it and will be a reliable, lucrative customer, wholly reliant on the services you rent. And if you step out of line, bang, you'll get deplatformed and cut off from everything. This is about not just ownership, but also complete control. I don't think the World Economic Forum is a group of sadistic people who enjoy hurting people. I think it's an elitist group of billionaires who are trying to dominate the world to grow their own empires. And when money becomes no object anymore, complete control and domination becomes the new high. Very interesting that Bill Gates, member of the World Economic Forum, owns more farmland in America than any other person on the planet. And Bill Gates says, quote, I've invested in these farms to make them more productive and create more jobs. There isn't some grand scheme involved, end quote. And I like Bill Gates. I respect him as a businessman. I'm sure we'd get along just fine if we had a lunch. But he's part of the World Economic Forum, which is promoting owning nothing. Meanwhile, he and other members of the forum have a complete monopoly, not only on land, but also on food supply with farms. In 2021, a new company started called Citra Living. This is a company that's swiftly buying up as much residential property in the UK as it possibly can. And Citra Living's goal is to become the UK's largest landlord. Meanwhile, Lloyds Bank refused to loan me money to invest in property because it was far too volatile, remember? But who owns Citra Living? You guessed it, Lloyds Bank. Lloyds Bank's famous slogan is, by your side. They're definitely by our side, I'll give them that. They stand by our side when they tell us to save our money and invest it safely in the bank, and then they use our money to buy properties, becoming the biggest private landlords in Britain, and then rent those properties back to us. Genius. It also goes without saying that Lloyds Bank Group is also a member of the World Economic Forum, and the majority of leading banks such as Barclays, Citibank, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and HSBC are too. The next time you get accused of being a conspiracy theorist, ask the person accusing you, what's the difference between a theory and a conspiracy theory? A theory is based on fact. It's not a conspiracy theory. The very term conspiracy theory was created by the government. to label and discredit the people who are simply asking the difficult questions to them. Isn't it interesting? Conclusion, the World Economic Forum is hell-bent on ensuring you will be happy with nothing. Meanwhile, they're buying up the planet. And they need you and me as customers and consumers and workers and slaves. And if you challenge them, you'll be deplatformed and banded a conspiracy theorist. These are not theories, these are facts.